I am Nahid Kabbani, and this is the Lighthouse for today's viewers. Welcome to our show. Today, we have a new topic about some kind of tour, unusual tour for you, my viewers, to see the other side of the world with a comment. I will not tell you about it, my guest will tell you about it. So we have in our studio our guest, and I will let her introduce herself to you. Welcome to our show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Who are you?
My name is Sarah Al Zanoon. I'm a student at Sac State University. I'm 22 years old and I am a Palestinian American.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
So, Journey for Justice.
Yes.
That is the name of the tour. It is really a nice title.
Yes.
And it talk about what is in it. Journey for Justice.
Journey for Justice. So yes, the title kind of says it in itself. It was an international tour full of internationals from all over the world, and we went to the West Bank and we went on a very structured tour throughout the West Bank to see the different side of Israel, which is, the occupied Palestine, and to see how the Palestinians live through occupation. So we visited universities, we visited different homes, and we met with different families, we met with different movements and organizations, but we also got to tour a lot and see the holy sites.
That's wonderful. How did you know about it? How did you go?
Well, I first heard about it through some activists that I already knew beforehand, Maggie and Patricia, who were part of the Bethlehem Sister City. So I was a little bit aware of what the Journey of Justice tour was and the opportunity at hand. So I had submitted a few applications. I had to submit applications to Joint Advocacy Initiative, just different organizations that they were with, and I was selected. So they don't just let everybody go. There's only 40 people from around the world that get to be selected on this. So I had to write a very extensive application to prove worthy of this.
So Bethlehem Sister City
Yes.
does have call for a person or two persons? How many?
Yes, usually it's just one a year.
A year. Okay.
Yes.
To go to this
Yes.
trip.
To go on this trip.
What was the rules in
What
that
was the rules?
application? To be American citizen, born as Palestinian, or?
No, not necessarily. I was actually the first Palestinian American to go.
Okay.
Last year they just had different students. So I think you have to be a student. You have to be over the age of 18. No older than, I think, like 24, 25. They really want to focus on the youth and focus on students that are active participants in things like this, that will be active.
That's wonderful.
Yes.
And you were lucky to have this opportunity.
Oh, I was ecstatic, especially being a Palestinian American. This kind of meant a little bit more to me than, other students that have no idea what's going on. So it was not only a moral obligation for me, but just a great opportunity as well.
And how your parents let you go by yourself?
My mom, of course, was a little bit worried, but I think my dad was very eager for me to go because he wants me to see where I come from. So he really wanted me to go. He was very excited. So that's how they felt about
and
me
it
going.
cost a lot, I guess. Cost the parents a lot beside.
Yeah,
the
I did
scholarship
because
or
yeah. Although my expenses there were fully covered, we did have to pay airfare. So
how long
which is
it
very
was?
expensive. The Journey for Justice tour was only a week long, but I decided to stay longer. So I stayed the remainder a little bit more than 3 weeks in Bethlehem.
So
Yes.
almost a month. Yeah.
I stayed a little bit over a month, actually. Yeah.
And this is the first time you visit Palestine?
This is the first time I visit Palestine or my siblings visit Palestine. I'm the first one out of my siblings.
Wow.
So it was very exciting for me.
And it was easy on the border of
It's never easy. That's the thing. It's never
Okay.
easy. It's arbitrary, meaning that you don't know how it's going to happen. I could have gone and it would have been easy, or it could have been very hard. For me, it took it took about 5 hours just to get through the airport. I was asked many questions, many irrelevant questions. I felt like they were just asking me in a harassing manner, just to harass or humiliate me, because the questions had nothing to do with airport security. I was also asked questions by several different people, several different security officials. I was put into several different rooms and offices, sometimes by myself, sometimes with a bunch of other people that they had deemed suspicious or,
So the trip as a study case for justice for those people, and you went through houses and people life. You checked their own real life, pictures.
Yes. So I thought that was very important. Out of all the things we did in the Journey for Justice tour, I felt one of the most important was having lunch with families, being in the exact places where protests take place, and talking to the people that were in the protest, and seeing the live ammo that's still on the floor from the protest the week before. I think there's no other better learning experience than to hear firsthand accounts, not secondary or third accounts from a newspaper or a story told by someone. We actually talk to people who live through this every single day.
That's really a great experience, especially for young youth.
Exactly. So it was very
to
powerful.
carry the story and to help with the decision to be made.
Yeah, exactly. To learn and to be more aware of what's going on. We were living under occupation when we were living in occupied Palestine. So I think those experiences are something that we can all take back home, whether it's those volunteers that came from Denmark, Sweden, Switzerland, Czech Republic, Argentina. They can all take those experiences home and tell them what they saw firsthand.
That's wonderful. It might help the authorities to focus on what they heard and learned from that experience, to feel the real life and find the real solution. Especially, you said occupied, but I don't think it goes as occupied in Israel side.
Oh no, of course. It doesn't even go recognized, actually. They don't even recognize that there is. Over 120 countries do recognize occupied Palestine, and then there's a few that don't even recognize it. If you actually go on the official Israeli government website, they don't even have the borders of the Palestinian areas. They don't even have the borders. But even most of the maps acknowledge, at least with a dotted line, knowing that this is West Bank and this is Gaza. So
did you see the walls?
Oh yeah, I was surrounded by them. Especially in Bethlehem and Ida camp. I stayed in a refugee camp for the next following weeks. And the wall goes right around Ida camp, and the wall varies. Sometimes it's 13 meters, 14 meters. Sometimes it's smaller, depending on what area you're in. There's watchtowers, and there's it kind of depends on where you go, how big the wall is. But the wall is definitely there, and it's there all the time. We take on our bus trips or going, from all different sorts of the city, you always see the wall encasing you and encircling you.
And did you experience that hardship with the mothers when they take the kids to the school through the wall and waiting?
I didn't. We saw videos of it because there are some children that they're allowed to go through, but their parents aren't allowed to go through the wall for medical reasons, and so the children actually have to go by themselves through a checkpoint and through the wall and somehow make it, and come back safely, and they don't have the guidance of their parents. So we did see a video about that, but we did not actually see the mothers go through. We did go through various checkpoints ourselves, like the Palestinian checkpoints, not the bypass roads, in order to see how it's like, just the day in the life of being a Palestinian. So we did experience that, and that's great. It was great, but it was also very
great to have the experience.
It was great to have that
reality,
experience because no one will ever know what that feels like, to feel like a caged animal and go inside of this checkpoint where hundreds of people are, in this really small hallway, and then there's different feeding cages that you go into in these facilities, and people yelling and screaming at each other, and it's quite an experience that is not even shown here or talked about. No one even knows what I'm talking about when I mention these things.
It's not for the news.
It's not for the, and they actually didn't allow me to take pictures of this. If you take pictures, you could get in a lot of trouble. So I did sneak in a little bit, but you could get your phone taken away for this. So it goes to show how much maybe the media is under scrutiny to not show these things.
How did you pass through? I know it's difficult.
Yeah, it's difficult. I think I was able to get through easily because I was so many internationals. When internationals go through, you know, especially because the internationals I was with were not maybe, you know, they were of European descent, so that also helps it a little bit. And with tour groups, they kind of make it, you know, easier for them, but harder for the Palestinians.
And you have seen the differences between the two sides with the swimming pool and water running. And
speaking of water, in Bethlehem, actually, because Israel has full control over the water, you don't know when the water is going to be turned on. It's very arbitrary. They said we've gone 3 months without the tap being turned on. Okay. So during the hottest week, there was no water in Bethlehem. Unless you have a water reserve and that has water still in it, but other than that, it's not getting refilled of water. So unless you could buy another one, but some families can't afford it, so you have to just buy water by, you know, the 2-liter gallon or what have you, and kind of ration that. So yeah, we did in the refugee camp. We did go without water for a week. At the same time, there's water parks being operated in Israel, and there's settlers swimming in pools. And another misconception that people might think is that, oh, there's a lack of resources of water. We are in the Middle East. There's deserts here, which is a myth, because one of the largest water aquifers is actually in the West Bank. So it's not a resource problem, but rather a control problem. Who has control over it? Because there's actually plenty of water. And it's actually getting extracted underneath my very own feet when I was in the West Bank, but being sold to Israel, and then we get the last of it, and maybe not even that.
And the water, what you talk about, the little gallons for all kind of use, for drinking and cleaning and everything?
Yeah. Like if they were to run out of water, they would have to go buy it, and then that's for everything. I mean, when I say no water, it's really not, I don't even think that it really evokes the true meaning of like no water. I meant we can't wash our hands, you can't brush your teeth. Like the simplest of needs are taken away from you. So you could see how.
Imagine the kids and the things, how to clean up.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow, it's amazing. Interesting pictures for sure.
Very interesting.
So I think we'll have a break, then you will show our viewers the pictures, what you have for them.
Yeah.
So we'll have a break and we'll be back soon.
Watching The Lighthouse for today's viewers, brought to you by oneworldforyou.org.
So we noticed that Sarah has difficulties in the occupied Palestine, and she almost steals some pictures for us to understand the situation through pictures. Okay, will you please?
Yes, so this is a Journey for Justice tour, and it was made possible through the YMCA, Joint Advocacy Initiative, and Olive Tree Campaign. And here's a picture of Beit Suhor. So this was some of the tour objectives: build bridges of understanding between different cultures, probably the most important one. This is just some of the logistics that the tour entailed, but I will be giving you kind of a brief overview of what we did. So let's get started with that. First of all, one of the things that we did initially was go to the Church of Nativity. So this is where our Lord Jesus Christ was born. This is the exact birthplace of Jesus that we saw. And this is the Shepherd's Field. It's a very significant reference in Holy Scriptures. Now this is the walking checkpoint to Jerusalem. So this is a picture I took outside of it, and
that's the wall behind.
And that's the wall behind it. It's about 14 meters, and you could see the art showing like a cutout that an activist drew this picture onto it. So Palestinians line up here about 2 to 5 hours before they start work, so that way they can go into Jerusalem. These Palestinians that do line up here have to have special work permits, and they're not always granted access to get through to Jerusalem. This is how crowded it looks like at times, kind of depending on the circumstance. We were able to get through kind of easily, but they have waited up to 5 hours to get to work. You could see how devastating this could be for them from an economic standpoint.
Every day?
Every day. The bus left at 5 in the morning so we can make it through Jerusalem on time. Now, EAPPI is they're just a Christian-based organization. That's who kind of escorted us through the checkpoint. EAs, they're internationals, and their presence alone kind of decreases violence at checkpoints. So their presence helps protect the Palestinians a little bit. So finally we get through, and we get through the old city of Jerusalem, 2,500-year-old city. This is Damascus Gate, so this is the entrance to the old city. We also went on an ICAD tour, stands for Israeli Committee Against Home Demolitions. So here are one of the homes that we saw. This used to be a 10-story building that housed about 100 Palestinians, so 7 different families, and 3 of the floors were deemed illegal because obtaining permits is almost unattainable, actually. The permit process, they hardly ever give out permits, and the permit process is very hard. So people expand their homes, building floors up top, and when they do that and the IDF finds out, meaning Israeli Defense Force, they will come and demolish them. There's currently 88 homes that are scheduled to be demolished this year, in addition to all the thousands of homes that have already been demolished. That's kind of hard to see and watch that. Bela Inn is a town that we visited where there's constantly being protests in Bela Inn because they're trying to push back the wall. So they're constantly under siege of soldiers. There's enforced curfews, home raids there. So we went there, and here are some fresh things that I found. In your upper left-hand corner, you see rubber bullets that are used against activists, the tear gas, and sometimes activists end up like our friend Basim here on the right, who died in 2009 during a really bad, peaceful protest that turned really bad, yeah. We also visited universities, which I felt was very important to see how students live under occupation. So we went to Birzeit University, which is in Ramallah, and this is a picture of soldiers coming into the school. Some of the students you could see, are prevented access from going to school. The school has been closed about 15 times, and it's been closed for the longest of 3 months. So you could see how hard it is for students to learn, and a society cannot thrive if its people aren't educated, and Israel does everything they can to stop that. So this talks a little bit about their Right to Education campaign, basically saying that it's basic human right and a basic human freedom for right to learn and a right to education. We also visited Nablus, which is a very old city, 2,500-year-old, maybe 3,000-year-old city. Very beautiful. It's been also under a lot of siege, especially during the second uprising or second Intifada. Here's an entire family that was massacred in 2002. Their home was demolished without an eviction order, so they weren't even notified to leave. So their house caved in on them, and most of them died in the home. And this is where the home used to be to your left. Okay, so this is Ramallah. This is a really small picture, but if you look really close, all those things on the grounds are actually tree trunks of olive trees that have been cut down by the Israeli Defense Force. So you can see how this could be devastating for Palestinian farmers. Olive trees mean a lot to the Palestinians, mean everything to the Palestinians, and they often come down with military court orders, or just, to me, they're just kind of like made up rules and laws that give them some kind of reason to terrorize and cut down all these trees. So there's a picture of that. We also met the Samaritans, and there's a few Bible references about the Samaritans. So it was very interesting to meet one of them. There's about 700 of them left, and they live in the hilltops of Nablus. The Samaritans are probably the closest thing to a Jewish Palestinian, even though that's not, the correct term. They speak Arabic in their everyday lives, but they practice the Torah, but they have their own version of the Torah, not the Torah that most Jews follow. So they are their own, they're Samaritans, and they carry Palestinian ID cards, Israeli ID cards, and some other kind of ID cards. So they're kind of in the middle, so to speak. Entering Hebron, of course, more checkpoints. This is a map of Hebron. H1 is the Palestinian area, and H2 is the Israeli area. H1 is supposed to be controlled by Palestinian Authority, but there's all kinds of Israeli checkpoints and officers that surround the area, so they get to control what goes in and out of H1. So they indirectly control H1, actually. And as you can see, that yellow road up top is a bypass road. That's a Jewish-only road. Hebron is very hard to live in. As you could see, that picture in the upper right-hand corner is a water reserve that's on top of the Palestinian home, and those are often getting shot at. I think those are easy targets for the soldiers to shoot at, and they deplete the resource of the Palestinians. So that's a water tank. That's his water tank, the boy to your left. And to your lower right-hand corner, that's a military zone that's actually been built right on top of his home. So he's not allowed to go up there, as he risks his life if he does. This is a very unique story about a man or about a family that live right outside of a Hebron boundary that's in the Israeli territory, and they've been offered a lot of money to move out of his home, but they refuse to take money. They built the home before the occupation, so they refuse to live, and as a result, they're kind of on permanent house arrest. So it was interesting to be, internationals from all over the world, and we're allowed to go visit this home and this family, but his own community and his own family aren't allowed to come in. So that's pretty bad. I mean, they're pretty much living in their own prison. It's hard to imagine your own home as your own prison. So in Hebron, you have settlements built directly on top of Palestinian shops. And this is a picture of a gate that the Palestinians built to prevent kind of siege from the Jewish settlers that lived up top. They were throwing rocks, and as you could see that there's a lot of garbage has accumulated, and that's almost breaking the gate down. Now, here coming to an end here, I just wanted to show a picture of Sabina Hasboun, who is the Palestinian who was in the Olympics this year. So that's pretty much the end of my PowerPoint. Just give a brief overview of my journey for Justice Tour and what we did.
That's really value, and the experience what you had and the explanation what you gave us is really important for us to understand this picture or that picture.
Yeah.
And you have been a good student, and you got the message.
Thank you very much.
So
yes.
We'll have a break and we'll be back. So we have been quiet, just watching what the picture telling us. It is real picture. It is Sarah brought it with her. It's not Google picture. It's not in the map or magazine or whatever. It's real life over there. It's good to know what's going on, to feel with those people. But usually when they go as students and when they get paid to go and do something, there is a duty on them. Let's find out with Sarah what she learned from this journey and what we will let you get from her. So what is the result of your journey?
The result of my journey, that's a really good question. Basically, I'm taking back these experiences and everything that I learned. I try to learn as much as I can, so that way I can probably, try as hard as I can to plant the seeds of change, in my generation, I feel. So I have been doing that so far by talking to small groups. And as I was in Palestine, I kept a photo blog, and I was posting numerous pictures a day with descriptions, and I was getting a lot of feedback, and I developed a lot of followers from that. A lot of people became interested, and I was enlightening, the community in Sacramento, in Palestine even, about what was going on. So I plan to further expand that by talking at the universities. I feel like since I'm in school, I think that's a very good platform for me to speak at, because change really starts at the university. The university
Sure.
has been known for starting movements and stuff like that. So I want to take advantage that I'm a student, and I probably will be for a really long time, because it's going to take forever for me to graduate. But I think, I can use that and utilize my experience. And that kind of gave me like the push or momentum, because when you go there and you see how people live, that's going to impact you, and it's going to make you want to change more than people that just learn from it from afar. Makes you more passionate, I feel like.
Absolutely. We count on you as generation, because you have that talent. You are smart. All the generations now are smarter than before. But also you have the tools, you have the technology, and you are at that age and position to be able to study everything and give us a chance for us as older generation, and our mind stuck in certain thinking. Our thoughts hard to be changed, and we have been seeing pictures, and we focus on things, repeat itself, but nothing happened. So that new youth and your new life in this story should give new blood and new thought. We count on you as a new generation. And the best place to do actually wherever you are now, as student in university, giving you all the chances to research and to go and to think and give your opinion.
Yes, exactly.
And you are working, you are doing a great job compared to the same level of the students. I see most of the students doing great.
Okay, thank you.
They will think about those people. They are a human being. They become back to humanity. We forget it for a while. So now you are focusing, bring it back to the table and say, this is the life over there. Let's focus and have solution. And in America, we are here as America. We are the top of the world and the problem solvers. I think the whole world count on us as America to solve the problem. But our viewers don't know anything about it. They are the voters too. Their vote is important. Your vote and your generation vote is important to see through new generation eyes and see through reality.
Yes.
And then give the vote or give the advice to authority people.
I agree.
You have a big responsibility, even you are still young. Are you ready for that?
Well, when you say it like that, it puts a lot of pressure, but yeah.
You did wonderful. You did
but
really
I'll
great.
try my best, yes.
Yeah. I really love the way you did it, and
thank you.
I enjoy the idea that you as young generation, you did wonderful, and really appreciate your coming to our show.
Thank you.
And if there is anything from you to our viewers, what you like to tell them?
What I would like to tell them is try to be kind of intellectually rigorous about what's going on in the world. I think that as Americans, there's so much white noise, there's so much just, go to work every day, go to this, that people tend to be blind about what's going on in the world, even though we are the biggest contributors, I feel like, to what is really happening, because our vote does matter, and at least try to be, aware. So I encourage people to do their own research and just become aware and try to find the facts, because the people who do know don't really know what's going on. So that's a message that I would really like to give to my viewers, or the viewers of the show, is that they, just to encourage them to at least be aware, and then maybe if they're aware and they still, have some passion for it, to try to do something about it as well.
That's wonderful. I really thank you for that, and I appreciate your time.
Of course, anytime.
And for you, I will say, America has the best programs for humanity help and non-profit organizations, and it's easy to establish non-profit organization for any cause, or easy to put hands together with other organizations and do your part and feel that you did something for humanity, and God will count it better than the bank account. So with this message, I'll let you go, and we'll see you next time.